So for Well Book Day, I'm going to look at The Snowman by Raymond Briggs. Now this animation is often shown at Christmas, but actually I thought with all the snow that some areas have been having and all the desire of all the young people to make snowmen recently, I thought this would be a good one to choose. Now, as I said, it is an animation, but it was first a lovely book. And this book, I don't know if you've ever seen it, has lovely illustrations in it, and it's about a boy that goes out to make a snowman, and the snowman comes alive. Okay, now this book's quite unique because it doesn't have any words at all. So it really relies on the lovely illustrations to tell you what the story is. So as you can see here, this is their relationship. They have a lot of fun. And then they fly up into the sky, and there's a beautiful piece of music that goes with this as well. So I'm going to take you through how to draw the snowman and also how to shade it, okay? Here's my first attempt, and it might take you a couple of attempts too. So make sure you've got a picture nearby. You can get one from the internet, and then you can start sketching. So first of all, you need to draw this oval shape here. Now with any drawings, you need to break it down into the basic shapes first, because that's what drawing is really. It's just a series of basic shapes that you can then change to make it more accurate. So you can see I've done quite a rough shape, and I've done it quite lightly so I can change it. So now I've got my first curve. I'm going to look at his head, and what I'm going to notice is this head, about 1/3 of it is below his body. So if we were to carry that line on, quite a lot of his face is under his body. So I'm going to do that as well. No, I don't think that's quite the right shape. If you look, his head's a lot rounder. So I'm going to correct mine and bring it right down here. Now this is where I say work lightly, because you're bound to put lines in places that don't look quite right, but you can easily correct it. Now I'm going to get rid of this bit of his body as well, so you can start to see the head on top of the body. Now I don't like that pointy bit, so I'm going to try and curve that round as well. Okay. Now on top of his head he's got this hat, and if you look, that's really just a rectangle with a kind of curve on top. And if you look, kind of cuts off these two curvy parts of his face. It's like in the centre there. So I'm going to try and do that with mine. So start with a rectangle. Then we've got this rim here that comes a bit over his face, and it's a slight curve, so I'm going to do that as well, like that. And I can start to see, look, the underside of his hat as well. So I'm going to curve those bits, draw those bits in as well. Okay, am I happy with that? Sort of. Might bring that down a bit more. It's really strange drawing to show people what to do on camera. Okay, then we're going to sketch in his features. So his nose, if you followed this line of his body, it would probably cut through his nose. So I'm going to put my nose about there. It's fairly big but not massive. Then I'm going to look where the eyes are, and that kind of makes a little triangle. So I'm going to put two quite small little eyes there. And then his smile, if you look at the distance between the top of the nose and the eyes, it's about the same distance from the bottom of the nose to the mouth. So I'm going to put his smile here. There's a little dot at the end which I'm going to put in. Now we're going to roughly sketch in his scarf, which again is just two triangles really. Triangles? What am I talking about? Rectangles. I'm trying to concentrate on my drawing. Rectangles. One crosses over the other at the top. One is slightly shorter, and they do get slightly wider as they go out at the end. Now I'm going to put in the arms. Now I'm not sure my body is quite wide enough. I'm going to try and widen it out, and also just put some lines for the arms here. Okay, so it's starting to look like the snowman. Now I'm sure you're thinking, well, that hat's a bit, well, for want of a better word, a bit rubbish. So I'm going to go back in. The thing about basic shapes, if you start with your basic shapes, then you can go back in. So you can see here it's got this lovely curve. So we're going to curve and go up like that. And then this hat actually has got a curve on the top. Just going to put that in as well. Then actually my hat's quite deep, it's probably a bit shorter than that. Okay, then when you're happy with what you've done, you can get rid of your basic shapes and you can start refining it, making sure you're happy. Now when we come to shade this, that's going to be a darker line just there. Okay, now I'm just going to mark in some of the threads in his scarf, but really a lot of the detail is going to be done with the shading. Okay, and then you've got to remember his buttons. So the buttonlet comes next to this bottom section of the scarf, so we're going to do one there, and it's a bit at one angle. It's supposed to look like bits of coal, so not too perfect. Then we've got the second one there. Okay, so that's not too bad. That's the actual one. That's my one. I think my one isn't really curvy and sort of big enough. So you can change your drawing at any time really, providing you've done it light in pencil. You've got good rubber. And move his arms out a bit, I think. And where do his arms come? They come at the top of the scarf, so mine's about right, but I'll take that down a little bit. Get rid of my mistake that side. With drawing, you might have several goes. This is my second go now, but I'm sure if I did it a third and fourth and fifth time, like Raymond Briggs did, he would have drawn it loads of times. You can start really getting good at it. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to move on to the shading now. I will do that with a bit of time lapse, so you don't have to listen to the whole thing, but I will do an introduction, okay? Okay, so now we're ready to shade, and I've selected some colours that I can see in the picture that are just here. Okay, so we've got mostly greens, pale blue, a bit of red and orange for his nose, and that should be all we need. Quite often with things like snow or glass, often pale blue is used for a coolness, to make it look like a cold thing. So there is quite a lot of blue in this snowman. I really want you to look at the colours, because here you've got what looks like an indigo blue, but behind it there is a yellow, there is a warmer colour, a yellow behind there that kind of ties in with the hat. And you can see that, because if it swaps to this part, this is just the pale blue, the colder, but this has got some other yellow in it. So you're going to have to use your blending skills to really get the shades that you want. Now, an interesting fact about the snowman, or the animation, is I don't know if you've watched it, but the background when he's flying through the sky looks like it's shimmering, and that's mainly because Raymond Briggs did actually use coloured pencils for his illustrations, and if you know about animation, they draw and record frame by frame, and because you can't get your coloured pencils in exactly the same position each time, the animation looks like it's shimmering and it's moving because of all the different coloured pencil lines. So I'm using quite a rough paper here. I think it's pastel paper, just what I had at home, and I'm getting these movement lines in it, and I quite like that because that is typical of what he did. Okay, as with always with shading, we're kind of trying to follow the shape of the object, the contours, to give a suggestion that something's round or something's curved. So I'm going to carry on shading, but I'll do it on time lapse so you can see it in quicker time.